Hi everyone, very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us for our series of Meet with Digital Thinkers Fireside Chat. We have been doing this series for the last 2-3 months where we have been showcasing stories of digital leaders who are transforming business using new age technologies. And today we bring to you one such dynamic digital leader. And before we actually get ahead with the fireside chat, I want to just take a few minutes to set the context for today's session. Today, we are all in the middle of the information revolution. It's not just a revolution, it's a barrage of information which is requiring organizations to fundamentally change the way they work. And this new way of working requires enabling a unified experience both online and offline, as well as providing a single platform to meet all work requirements, a kind of one-stop shop, so to say. Now, the future of work is built on collaboration, and today more than ever, the need for collaboration is crucial to ensure zero disruption to business as they navigate through the uncertainty. Now, disparate and siloed platforms are hardly the answer that you're looking for. They are unable to meet the unified collaboration experience that organizations today have come to expect in today's dynamic work environment. Disparate platforms for email and different components of collaboration working separately can end up creating information and communication silos, impacting productivity and efficiency. So what organizations need today is a unified one-stop collaboration platform that can keep up with the growth and expansion while supporting the expectations around speed, agility, and flexibility that today's collaborative environments require. Now, especially considering that a large portion of the enterprise workforce today is pivoted towards remote working and is gradually moving towards a more flexible working in the future as well, a cohesive collaboration experience is key to business success. So what can really help businesses push the boundaries of collaboration around performance to empower business transformation is cloud. Now, ubiquity and removing the complexities around technology that cloud enables can redefine collaboration and take it to a whole new level. And today we bring to you the story of one such organization, and this is the story of Times Internet, one of India's leading digital consumer platforms. Now, with over 5,500 employees collaborating seamlessly on cloud to successfully serve over 110 million users while improving productivity and lowering costs, there's a collaboration story that is worth hearing. And to talk about this journey, I have with me Sumit Malhotra, CIO, Times Internet. Sumit has over 18 years of experience in the industry. He has extensive experience in system engineering across that full technology stack. And as the CIO of Times Internet, Sumit collaborates with the leadership in setting up the company's IT strategy, especially regarding infrastructure and information security. He has been instrumental in building and maintaining orchestration platform, which enables application developers to run cloud-native workloads across public or private cloud to improve developer productivity, reduce infrastructure costs, and increase systems reliability. So thank you so much, Sumit, for joining us. And to take the discussion forward and understand Times Internet's cloud journey, I would like to invite Priyadarshi Mohapatra, Director, Google Cloud India. Priyadarshi, or Priyo as he likes to be called, is a veteran of the industry with over 2.5 decades of experience in both enterprise and consumer space in India. At Google, Priyo is leading the cloud business for both North and East of India. So thank you so much, Priyo, for joining us to take this fireside chat forward. So I will hand it over to you. And before that, while the chat is going on, I would request all our viewers, if you have any questions, you can type in the questions in this question box that you can see in front of you. So we will get those questions answered towards the end in the Q&A section. So Priyo, over to you to take the discussion forward.
Shipra, thank you so much. And Sumit, it's such a pleasure to talk to you. I think, Sumit, we can have your video on so that the audience get to see you when they hear you. And welcome again, Sumit. And I think, Sumit, you've been part of a journey which many people would dream to be part of. Today's day and age, everybody has been talking about digital transformation, but we all know that, Times Internet has been a pioneer. You've been a digital publishing organization. But what's more fascinating is this whole transformation journey that you have in becoming a digital products company. I mean, I would be amazed, how you have actually managed to serve over 110 million users every day and probably 450 million monthly average users, which is absolutely fascinating. So can you tell us a little bit more about this journey of yours, where you started from being a digital company but have become a much larger digital consumer platform?
Sure. First of all, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me here. Delighted to have this conversation with you, Priya. Times Internet, predominantly, we have been in business for about 2 decades now. If I look at our journey in last 2 decades, the first decade is primarily about being a digital extension to our parent company, which is Times Group. So Times Internet is, and currently also is, a digital arm of the BCCL, which is our parent company. So at that point in time, we used to build products to reach digital consumer in India, predominantly on the channels like news, sports, entertainment, fashion, and food. But I think in 2012 specifically, things changed dramatically. Until 2012, although things were doing well for us, we were number one in most of the areas which we were operating in. But there was no clarity of the end state for us. In 2012, when Satyan took over, we actually spent a lot of time in identifying what we want to do for next 5 years. So there was a 5-year plan which was laid out on what would be our team like in 5 years from now. What is the culture we expect to see in next 5 years? What do we need to? What is the effort we want to put in to see that happen? So actually, the big change which we did was we wanted our teams to be entrepreneurial. We wanted them to be of strong product tech backgrounds, with strong hunger to take and achieve audacious goals. While we were looking at all this, the reason we were looking at this is because before 2012, our operating model was quite different. We were used to outsourcing things. The product development at many places were also outsourced. So we were focusing on things, not all the things which we want to build. We were focusing on a lot of things which we do not want to work on. Like, for example, our email and collaboration platform, right? We had an in-house collaboration and email platform, which we had no interest in managing, but we were managing because that's the way things were at that point in time. So because the view was, when the view was actually made and it was discussed with various leaders, so one of the other change which we did was around decentralization. We have, as you know, we are like at current point in time, we are about 40 different brands, which are actually operate in standalone units, while they come together and integrate well in the fabric too. So we all could achieve this by when we actually promoted decentralization. Each of our digital properties actually became independent decision makings units, with their own views, with their own path, with their with actually clear ownership on balance, cost, profit, margins, and how they want to create product, how they want to market the product. So the full independence was provided to the leaders of each respective group by decentralizing the power which was earlier actually put into select few. So this actually pushed us, because then we actually had not just few minds which are actually creating strategy, but actually it's like about 50 people contributing to the company strategy, which each owning their own piece and driving growth in each department. So that really helped. The other key initiative during this was setting up a T Labs. I don't know whether you heard about T Labs or not, but It has now been renamed as well. It's an early stage mentor-driven accelerator. T-Labs at that point in time was one of the first accelerator in the country. And it was until like any other corporate accelerator, it had independent charter and was always aligned to make the entrepreneurs successful. So when we actually got into T-Labs and reached out to the market and people worked with the entrepreneur, actually it led to a sudden influx of the energy and the vision. So what we were talking actually became like like on the top, on one segment actually was being discussed all over the company. And it got imbibed into the culture so well that people really loved it, saying they have the independence, they have the resources to do what they want to do, and they have accountability to, because the goals are also being set in each of these areas by the leaders to ensure that they also do not lose behind. So today at this point in time, TL has about 40 plus digital products, which not just enable 450. Actually, we currently, as per May data on Comscore, we currently enable 557 million active users. That actually is 8 out of 10 Indians with access to internet, just behind Google and Facebook. So that was about a little bit journey about what we did to transition from a media company to a digital press company.
Awesome. Oh, what an amazing journey, Sumit. And you've been part of this journey. So, there's so much to learn from you, because in today's day and age, every organization is trying to become a digital organization, irrespective of the business they're in. But what's more fascinating are some of the points you made, Sumit, that it's not about just creating digital products. I think somewhere it starts with that whole mindset of being an entrepreneur, right? It's like you looked at organizations within your larger group, which had their own independence, which had their own identity, very entrepreneurial. At the same time, the culture which you created, which was uniform. I think what cut across all these organizations was that cultural element which you bring in, which uniforms and binds them somewhere together. And not just bringing this entrepreneurial element within the organization, but you guys actually helped many other entrepreneurs, empowered them on how they could go on their own journey. And I know that when you try to do this, Sumit, from your perspective, if I come back, you didn't just have an accountability to all the consumers you were having on your digital platform, to many people who are your inside stakeholders, right? How do you enable this massive entrepreneurial workforce within the organization to communicate, collaborate, work, and have their productivity all on a single platform, so that, while they maintain this cultural aspect of the organization, they independently work. And you took a very, very bold call of, getting them all on a unified platform. I would love to hear, how was the journey there and how you went about getting all of them on a common platform. More importantly, if you can share with our audience, did you actually move them away from different discrete platforms, and what were the challenges? What did you really face? I'd love to hear some thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. Let me tell you a little bit about our environment about 5 years ago. We actually, so on the group side, we had a single collaboration platform in which we had invested in. Okay, the collaboration was deployed in a hybrid manner to enable some cost efficiency. So we actually had local servers, so some things on the cloud, some things on the local. The setup which are on the local setup was managed by in-house team. We used to, but considering this, there are a lot of mix and match. So there was a local hardware which needs to be deployed and managed. There was always constraints on the local hardware, because, like example, there were few mailboxes which were on the local, I would say, collaboration platform, and there was something which was on the remote. Now, I don't know, like many of you can relate it. We used to use Microsoft Outlook to access our collaboration platform. And you would actually get an email saying your mailbox is getting full. Now, then somebody will actually have to archive the PSGs, and then you have to figure out a solution to back up those PSGs and then make sure they're getting backed up all the time, because now backing up a server is a different thing, and backing up a client is like altogether a different solution, because a client could be, may not be inside the network. He could be working in a remote area. He may not even have connectivity to push that large chunk of data which actually gets changed every day. So there were like so many challenges. If I add a few more, our conferencing solution, which we are using at that point in time, used to be a combination of Polycom, used to have Cisco, used to have Skype for Business, all together. Okay, so people were using so many disparate platforms. And when a call used to happen, specifically a guy, actually a senior guy, let's say management meeting actually is happening. So there is one guy, IT guy, actually standing just outside the door to make sure if there is something doesn't work, he can be called upon and at the very instant, and people don't lose time. The meeting rooms were such that whenever they have to set up a video call, everybody has to come like 10-15 minutes just before, just to make sure that things are actually working. And at many times, people will actually waste time because something will break in the between, and you have to call an IT team, somebody will come, move some cables, make some changes to settings, and then things will start working again. So it was like doing work was specifically collaboratively was like insanely tough until 5 to 6 years ago. That's what I would say. It's like it was so tough that the amount of number of calls which we used to make was less than one per person on average per month. So that's how horrible it was. If I compare it to now, it's like I think it's like a 10th time higher now. Another thing was then the solution was another solution also brought in some security related features. So it had antivirus built in, it has MFA built in. But when you start implementing it and started using it in your real life, you would see that there are some shortcomings. The product is not top notch. Then what we did was we invested in another MFA product, which we said, okay, let's use that product and stitch it with this product and then see it works. Now, while we continued this journey over like 4 or 5 years to make this product work, we ended up having at least replacing like that one product which we invested in became like 8 or 9 products which we were using. And with no correlation, no connection between each other, it was difficult to train, difficult to use, and like a horrible thing, complete nightmare for everyone.
Sumit, you know what? It reminds me, there was a time when I used to head an organization which was into collaboration tools, and we always used to joke saying the biggest advantage any collaboration tool can get into consumers is if the meeting starts on time. Because like you mentioned, every time you have a meeting scheduled specifically of a senior person, you need somebody standing outside just to ensure that everybody is able to log in and start. But you, I think, gave us a very, very interesting perspective on that whole collaboration thing, where you touched upon the point of it's actually a different way of working. It's not about what products you use. It's not just about the features, functionalities, or security. It's about a new way of working. You know, you can collaborate from anywhere, and you don't want to be dependent on people to get you on your very important brainstorming sessions or important management agenda setting. But, you know, you really don't want to be spending time energy there. You'd be spending time energy on the content and the quality of the conversation. And in your journey, I know that you have looked at cloud to in some way help you collaborate and create this whole platform. So it would be interesting to hear your perspective that, you know, having seen all the challenges, having gone through that journey, how did cloud really help you, you know, overcome some of these challenges and bring the value that you wanted to bring to your stakeholders?
So see, we have a big tech team, okay, and we have built, we currently run and manage some large platforms ourselves. So one of the first idea which came to our mind is why not we build it ourselves, okay? But I think we quickly backed out because we wanted to just focus on what we want to build and manage. And we wanted to find a partner actually who actually understands and want to work with us and help us and make this a success for us. 7-8 years ago, our interactions with our group companies actually increased tremendously. So we currently engage with them on news feeds, what kind of news needs to be created, and a lot more things. So in this, there was a very high demand for being collaborative within the company and outside the company both. And the idea was to find tools which can harbor collaboration. It's like the tools which we were using, although had a promise to collaborate, but they were not. They were actually they were a hindrance in themselves. Like for example, many of the tools are actually a client-based solutions. Okay, so they would have a web version, they would have app version, they would have a desktop version, and they would enable you offline using a client. And then what make things impossible to do is that uh, pushing a change across all 5 platforms is almost impossible. Like if I have to make a change, I have to make sure that the client which they are running are also the newest one. And so if I have to push a change today on my platform and I want my users to use it, considering they're consuming it using a, let's say, Microsoft Outlook client, they will not see it unless the update is actually installed on the machine. And we all know that how impossible it is to keep the machines updated all the time. And even if you do a monthly or a monthly patch management cycle, then also you actually have to wait for 30 to 45 days at the very minimum for the new change to be visible across all. So it's like the velocity of change is almost is very slow, specifically on collaboration platform which are non-cloud native. So although G Suite actually does have capabilities to use clients, in our environment, we actually do not permit, don't even permit a client-based solution, client-based access, because it actually hinders the velocity of the change. Second, the biggest problem was the context switching. So we wanted a system which was actually can integrate well with our fabric. So we have internal monitoring system, we have internal, so we have about 8 different systems which are homegrown, which are used for different purposes. And people spin off new systems every now and then. And we need to make sure that the people work in, not on the emails, they work collaborative together in a workspace so that everybody sees what the other is doing. Currently, when you switch from one application to another, and you have to switch from 1 to 8, actually, you can imagine, then people lose a lot of time, a lot of focus, a lot of productivity was getting lost just in this context switching. I haven't measured myself, but a typical, so if you talk about the typical industry survey, they say people waste at least 10 to 15% time if they have to do a context switching. And we were doing context switching across 8 or 9, at least at that point in time. And there were many normal advantages which we all know about cloud, like you can scale up anytime. You can turn off feature anytime. You can spend on adoption as opposed to reaping benefits, and like you can spend on adoption and reaping benefits as opposed to just working on how to deploy this tool so that people can start seeing it like 60 days from now. So I think cloud is very important. I think if we would have not been on cloud, it would be impossible for us to work in current day scenario. When we started working from home, I think our collaboration platform was not impacted at all. I think we were not impacted at all by any of it because of our widespread adoption across the various solutions which we currently use, not just collaboration.
I mean, it's so fascinating to hear the things that you preach about the power of cloud and what it can do, and to see how in real life it translated for you and your organizations, because you were large users of cloud. And like you mentioned, I think when the pandemic happened, you were actually more prepared than many other organizations because you didn't have a challenge to figure out how do you make people collaborate and work remotely. 2 specific keywords I picked up, Sumit, when you were describing your journey and got stuck in my mind. One was about the velocity of change and the other was about context switching. And to me, for a digital company like yours, it becomes extremely critical about, how do you have speed, agility, and flexibility in whatever you do? Because that will sort of define the dynamism and the ubiquity of a company like Times Internet, which is serving those hundreds and millions of customers that we are talking about everyday basis. So in this whole, life cycle of yours, what's the role that G Suite has played to enable you on this speed, agility, and flexibility? Because I know that you're one of the largest user of G Suite as a platform.
Well, in one line, I would say it's literally difficult to dream of doing what I'm doing right now without the power of a G Suite at this point in time. It's just impossible. It's like
Wow.
it's currently we're using G Suite APIs, bots, sheets, docs, slides, tasks, workspace. I think so well at so many places. I think it's right now embedded in most of our applications at this point in time. I think the widespread adoption, which I see on my analytics, like we have strong adoption of platform. 70% are using Sheets every month. About 60% using Docs. Everybody is doing meet calls. There is so much high adoption on the Hangouts. It's like people are eager to just go and explore. And I've seen, like example, Google G Suite actually would release at least 8 or 9 features every month. Okay. Now, the eagerness of people to adopt these new technologies is such that people come to us with saying, okay, I'm using this. This is a new thing which has come in yesterday in beta. I'm not able to see it, right? So it's like, I particularly remember this because I think in July 15th, you actually started, you actually created Workspace, which was very integrated with email, chat, task, everything came together really nicely. So I like 20th of July, I actually got an email saying, hey, it doesn't show up. They said, yeah. Then I got another one on 25th. Then we had to send like a mailer saying it's going to take at least a month because although Google has announced it, but it has not started rolling out even if for the customer who are actually in early stage adoption. So it is like, it's, I don't think you actually have a replacement for a solution in which there's a pull. So you actually don't have to push, it's just a pull. The great thing, and this was not just, it's a recent scenario. When we started adopting this collaboration platform, we rolled it out about 4 years ago. At that point in time, we thought, okay, we will get a lot of hindrance from it, saying, and maybe like 50% will start using the new collaboration platform and 50% won't. Okay. By end of the year, I think not end of the year, we started in somewhere in September, somewhere in December, when we looked at our overall allocation, I think we had 90% utilization on the collaboration platform and only 10% using, and that's specifically for specific use cases. And since then, we have never looked back. Although change is a difficult thing to push, but if you push really hard on it, I think it's just something which you cherish for years.
No, I think really well put, Sumit. I think end of the day, if the end user sees value, then you really don't have to push. It's a pull that creates it. And I think I couldn't have said it better. You explained it really well. One thing that came to my mind, as when we specifically all of us who are on the technology side, whenever we do adopt a particular technology, when we standardize, like you have standardized messaging collaboration across the organization, end of the day, questions get asked on, is the data showing that there is benefit? Is there a business matrix that is getting impacted? So in your case, how have you seen that? I mean, I'm sure you would have measured, what's the kind of impact from both business and technology side, right?
Yes, I think that's something which I do always. I think, okay. As I said in the beginning, we foresee that our cost savings would be 30% on a 3-year scale. But eventually that increased to about 47% in our first 3 year of contract. So that's just on talk about cost. Like if I compare my earlier licensing cost versus what I'm paying to use Google G Suite. I'm not talking about the features, the ease of use, and what the productivity time which I gained. It's just pure play ROI of my direct cost spend, which actually got saved. If I talk about IT metrics, considering we adopted a client-less approach, we actually see 95% reduction. Probably right now, I don't even get any call from on G Suite at all, 0, unless something people need some access to training or they don't understand how it is working and they need some hand-holding. I don't see anybody I'm getting any call related to it at all. And the biggest advantage for us is that everybody uses Gmail, right? So, and we are a young organization. Whenever anybody comes in, you don't have to train anybody about Gmail, okay? They already know about it, right? So the adoption is so quick. And then the other suite which is related to bots and other stuff, that's something which comes in and people, it's easy to use. It's like you just ask it and it gives you. I don't think you need to train the young generation about it. I think I don't think even I need to be trained about it, although my team built it. But still, it's so easy that the adoption is really high. I think we currently use our IT asset management system completely using bots. So if somebody has to ask, I have a laptop, desktop, I have a problem, everything goes through the bots, and like 60% of problems are resolved by bots itself. It's very integrated, well integrated with our incident management fabric. Something goes down, we get a beep, it goes into our chat room, so people start talking about it. If, let's say, there's a performance degradation somewhere, then this one system will pick it up. Earlier, what used to happen is the system will send an email. Okay, now then it would send about 20 participants will get an email. Then somebody will start a chain. Then somebody will respond to a different chain. So that all is gone. Now everything comes into a one room. People just start responding to it right there and then. So there are no email versions, there are no document versions flowing around. You know what it is. It's always the source of the truth. You always have one thing which you're looking at it, and everybody is looking at the same thing. I think that's something which is phenomenal. Video calls I talked about. I think we virtually had 0 video calls 5 years ago. Now I think we make in current days and age. I think it would be I think I personally myself make about 30 calls a day at the very minimum. It might be 15 minutes. On average, I think it's currently about 10 calls a day for everyone in this scenario. But even before COVID, I think the average was still about 3 or 4 calls. Even within there, like we had a huge campus. So when we actually saw a strong adoption, people gradually moved away from walking into a different campus, different building, just prefer doing a meet from their desk or doing a hangout call instead. So I think it's a saving I can't quantify, and I don't think I even calculated and included in my ROI calculations, but it's always there. And although I'm actually putting the numbers very low in terms of employee productivity to 5%, but I think the impact would obviously be huge. It's difficult to measure, but I think considering we cannot live it without it, I think it's just that it's considering I see G Suite adoption everywhere. Every tool is using some of the APIs, pushing the data and using it for the core collaboration system. I think it just shows how successful it is within our company.
Awesome. I think, Sumit, some very important points you made here. And before I go anywhere, I must say that anybody who's part of a digital transformation journey is part of the younger generation. And you are part of the younger generation. You've been the pioneer of the digital transformation journey. But I think you brought a very important point on how people were used to, Gmail, and the adoption was very, very high. And to me, I think you brought in the important point that this is not just about using a different technology, seeing a single source of truth, but this is about a new culture that is getting created in the organization. And I'm sure from some of the points that you made, it was very clear that it was a collaborative cultural transformation that happened within the organization, not just a technology adoption. But if I just change tact a little bit, Sumit, I want to go to a different area, and I'm sure our audience would like to hear. We heard a lot of the things from the organization, technology, and your perspective. I want to hear something from your employees' perspective. With this whole pandemic happening, you were more prepared as an organization than many other organizations. But communication, collaboration, and not just communication, collaboration, becoming productive, working from remote location became a key. And people had to transition overnight from being in the working from an office or a single location to working from multiple locations, working from home. So how did the employees in your organization, when you were such a at the cutting edge of technology, actually adapt to this whole thing? How did they transition? I would like to hear something that you can share for the audience from the employee perspective.
I think it's primarily related to our adoption of cloud, not just in our collaboration suites. Okay. Across the company, when we move, so it's like we do not. So we actually adopt a zero trust approach to security. So people were used to working in one way only. So it's like if I'm working inside the office, I'm getting access to the application in one way, and the same way I can access it while I'm working from home or at the airport. I think that one way of working actually simplifies everything. And when you actually everything is on the cloud, which can scale up as on demand, I don't think you have to do anything at all. As a CIO, your job is just done when you actually just make a move and push people to just adapt to the new solution. After that, the solution takes care of itself. It has large stickiness. I don't think we faced any challenges. Considering the solution is built to be redundant, then you don't have to worry about the outages either. And Google being like a close partner, especially Team Computer is a very close partner for us. They currently work and help us. In IT help desk as well. We have taken their services on those front as well. So it was a easier synergy for us to work there. And I would like to bring about one special thing actually for a digital adoption to be successful. A change management is actually the key. While people adopt to different approaches of change, I think one needs to figure out what works for them. While I can currently say, yes, my team did a brilliant job. One of the phenomenal things which actually happened was that we created our own change management program. So we did a sample testing of when we adopted a collaboration platform like G Suite. When we took an approach which was tested and proven by others, when we tried to deploy it, it didn't work for us. Okay. What we realized is that our audience is different. We need something to catch their attention. So our change management process and adoption was, the training module was a custom created based on the videos and gamification to actually get them to pull. So once you get them hooked onto it, and when they're competing for learning about a new collaboration platform among themselves, then I think I don't think you need to do anything at all. Then people like to do that. People like to prove that they are better than others. Then I think everything else takes off from there.
True. No, I think it's such an important point there. This whole story about the change management, how an organization should look at it. It's not about one size fits all. You got to make it very, very organization specific. And what's your need? What are the challenges you might have in that change management? How you go about it? And you also mentioned a very important point on how your partner played a role with you in getting this whole thing done. So I think it gives me a great segue. But before I hand over to Shipra to probably ask the partner to also share with you, their journey and how they've been. Sumit, I must confess that this has been an amazing conversation for me. I've loved every bit of it. As a technology partner, you imagine the values that you will bring to the customer. But when I was hearing you, it was a learning session for me, and also seeing some of these things coming to life, coming to reality has been most amazing. So thank you again, Sumit. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure the audience would have loved to hear.